Hi, this is Ellen from Cambridge Immigration Law, here to talk about U.S. immigration issues. I'm here in my office in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We have a in-person office here. People are hybrid, but most of the time I'm in the office, as are most of the folks on our legal team. So let's see. If you are watching this live, put questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer your questions about U.S. immigration law. If you have a U.S. CIS application pending, if you are wondering about rules and processes, please put a question in the chat about U.S. immigration. Our team here at Cambridge Immigration Law works with clients on all types of immigration matters. We love working with folks who are working on marriage-based green cards, their first one, and then following up a few years later with their removal of conditions. We love that, and then finally the citizenship. We love working on people through that whole journey. Let's see. Okay, so if you are on this live, share the live with your friends, especially if they have questions about U.S. immigration law. I'd love to help steer people in the right direction in terms of what they can do to achieve their immigration goals. And we know that immigration goals are really about life goals, and that's what we're excited to help people reach, is their life goal of maybe being reunited with family members, or their life goal of being able to stay in the United States and continue their education, maybe college or graduate school, or helping people have the freedom to do whatever they want in the United States professionally. So some people might be in the United States on a work visa, but they don't want to continue working for an employer, or they'd like to expand or cut back. We can help achieve those life goals of having some professional flexibility. Also, we help with the life goal of not getting deported from the United States, not being separated from your home. You might be a recent arrival in the United States, and this has become where you want to live, or you might be somebody who's lived here for decades, maybe as long as you can remember. But if you're not a citizen or potentially a green card holder, you may be subject to deportation. So we certainly help people with the life goal of staying safe and secure here in the United States. So if you're just joining, please add questions to our live here, our first YouTube live. We have a lot of TikTok lives, and we've had a lot of fun with getting questions from audience members, people who have questions about their immigration petitions, or who have questions about a family or a friend. So what's important to know is that immigration laws don't change so frequently, but immigration policies do. Immigration policies means the way the laws are interpreted, or the laws that are focused on change drastically and overnight based on the administration. Right now, we are seeing an administration that is focusing on the laws relating to the most severe interpretations of deportation processes. They also are doing some illegal things, but they are doing some legal things that are just antithetical to the way that the US government has been treating non-citizens for a long time. And not forever. We've always had some bad immigration policies. But the government is choosing, if it can, a procedure to evaluate deportation that's immediate and has really no due process, meaning there's just no way for a person to challenge it, over a process that gives a person an opportunity to speak with a judge, to present defenses and testimony. Those two options already existed in the immigration laws before Trump came in. His team, though, is just deciding to use the more extreme version. That should be more limited. And so, are they using it lawfully is one question, and then when does it cross the line? Because they're definitely doing things that are not allowed by the law. But policies, again, they can change overnight. Procedures change, like, as simple as like where to mail something, how many copies of an application need to be sent, what supporting documents need to be sent with an application. Those things are policies and procedures, but they can affect outcomes because if there's a deadline and a procedure is not followed, you could lose your case. You might get your case denied, and then you're not going to get a green card because you didn't follow a procedure. So it's important for people to stay on top of the policies and procedures that allow you to get immigration benefits, allow you to get a green card, allow you to get citizenship, allow you to extend your tourist visa or your student visa, or come to the United States from an embassy. So the laws may not change, but if you're not following the way that the procedures are changing, the policies are changing, you could risk, achieving your immigration goals, which, as we've talked about, are really a way to get your life goals achieved. If you're here, you have any questions about U.S. immigration law, please put them in the chat. I'd love to talk to you about your pending U.S. immigration procedure, or if you have questions about a friend, something going on, I'd be happy to steer you in the right direction. So we help people navigating the U.S. immigration system. We help people who are engaging with USCIS, that's the U.S. Customs and Immigration Services Agency. We help people who are in immigration court, and that's called Executive Office of Immigration Review, or the EOIR. We help people who are appealing immigration court decisions to the Board of Immigration Appeals. So that's already 3 different agencies that are related to immigration. We also help people with customs and border protection issues. So that's people who are coming into the United States who have questions about whether they'll be allowed into the United States or what challenges they might face from an immigration perspective. And we also help people with Department of State issues, and that generally is relating to getting a visa at an embassy. So there's just lots of agencies that we help people engage with. So let's see. We love working with couples. So somebody who's married to a U.S. citizen and wants to get a green card, wants to get status here in the United States through that U.S. citizen partner. We work with couples all the time. We love working on these cases. We get to meet great people at the beginning of their marriages. It's a really happy immigration application. It's important to note that despite all the bad things that you're seeing on the news, that I'm seeing on the news, a lot of good things are still happening the way that they have been happening before Trump. So, especially USCIS. So, in the United States, to get a green card, by applying, you apply to the USCIS. That's the agency that'll decide if you're going to get a green card. The decisions we have been receiving this year through USCIS have been in line with what we would have received in prior administrations. So I do encourage people to continue to apply for USCIS benefits despite the scary context that we're in. With that said, there are some complications with some of the illegal, I think, pauses that Trump has put on processing of USCIS applications for people from certain countries. But we still are encouraging people to file the applications, knowing the complication, but file the applications. The government's taking your money. They should give a decision on your case. If they don't want to take your money, which that's also another illegal thing, that's one thing. But how can the government take your money, sometimes thousands of dollars, to process a case and then turn around and say, we're not processing your case? That's just a violation of federal law, which is that an agency, which is USCIS, has a duty to facilitate the laws that Congress wrote. So the USCIS has a duty to help people get green cards if Congress says that they're supposed to have them. So again, there's some specific complications to the processing of green cards, not necessarily the decisions that they may get, but like, are they going to be put on hold? And that's really frustrating, but we still are encouraging people to, work with USCIS. We are getting good decisions from USCIS. Our team hasn't received any surprise denials. We've had some denials on cases that, we've told the clients this is on the border. and clients choose to present their case in a particular way, maybe not listening to us. So I don't consider that a surprise denial. I think if a case isn't great, we know that when we're filing, we tell the clients that, we tell them whether there's options to make the case stronger, and sometimes clients don't want to do it. But I'm talking about surprise denials where I say, listen, this case should be approved in this way. We haven't had those, which is great. It doesn't mean that the horrors of ICE are not happening. They are. It's just a different, like it's a different lane than USCIS. Let's see. One other thing that we've been working a lot on is getting citizenship for people who have had green cards for decades. They have been eligible for citizenship for decades, but they haven't applied for reasons really they just hadn't thought they needed it, or it just didn't seem worth the effort. A lot of people now that are green card holders are deciding this is the time to apply for citizenship. I can't risk my life in the United States any longer with this crazy administration that we're all suffering under right now. So if you've had a green card for decades and you haven't applied, my question is why? And really, you need to weigh your why against the reasons to apply, which are essentially permanent safety here in the United States, essentially the ability to leave the United States and come back after however long you want. It gives you the opportunity to apply for certain relatives to get green cards in the US. Not everyone, but some. It gives you the opportunity to vote in the United States. So if you're not happy with what's going on with our government, become a citizen so you can vote. US citizenship gives you the opportunity to get certain jobs that you're not eligible for if there's a security angle and it requires citizenship. Some security jobs requires green card status or US citizenship, but certainly there are jobs that require US citizenship from a security perspective. If you've just joined us, please give us your questions about your immigration petition that you have pending, what's going on with it. Do you want to submit an application to USCIS, an immigration petition? You want to know what it is? Send your questions in the chat. Also share this live with your friends who may be working on an immigration application. Maybe they have one pending. Tell your friends to come into this live and ask their questions. This is a great opportunity for people to get information from a lawyer. I'm not going to say legal advice because in this situation, I can't give you specific legal advice, but I can point you in the right direction, give you some ideas about what you should do with your attorney about your immigration petition. So if you're here, put some questions in the chat. All right, so let's talk about the core services here at Cambridge Immigration Law. We provide family-based immigration and visa representation. That means we help your family members stay in the United States legally and come to the United States legally. Our favorite type of case is the happy case of marriage-based green cards. So we love helping U.S. citizens get their partners to stay in the United States if they weren't able to otherwise, or come to the United States. We help people become citizens of the United States or get proof that they already are citizens. We do meet people, I would say every month or so, who didn't realize they're citizens. And instead of having to apply for citizenship, we get proof that they have been citizens, sometimes for decades. And that's a pretty exciting way to help people. We help people to deal with deportation orders. And right now, there's a huge benefit to people who have actual final orders of deportation, which prevents somebody from getting a green card in the United States. However, there's something called the Calderon settlement right now, which is a court settlement that essentially is forcing the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration Court to reopen deportation orders if somebody lives in New England, is married to a U.S. citizen, and has an I-130 approved or pending. Most of the time, we can't get your deportation order opened to give you the opportunity to a green card. This settlement is telling the government that they have to reopen your deportation order so we can get you a green card. This is a huge opportunity for people who have always been able to apply for a motion to reopen their deportation order, but it's risky. If right now, if you were not part of the Calderon settlement, I would not tell you to file a motion to reopen. We filed a lot of them during the Biden administration, and generally were successful. But this is not the time to tell the government that you are here with a deportation order unless you are protected under the Calderon settlement. So I explained one of the benefits of the Calderon settlement, which is that you can get your removal order opened and essentially erased so you can get a green card. What the Calderon settlement also does is protect you from deportation while the settlement is in effect, which is until next January. So if you have a deportation order, if you are married to a U.S. citizen and you live in New England, you need to contact our law firm or another law firm and ask whether you're eligible to file a motion to reopen based on the Calderon settlement. So that's a huge benefit for people right now. Again, if you have a deportation order and you are married to a citizen, you need to consider whether you're eligible for the Calderon settlement. It is for people who live in New England. Now, if you choose to move to New England, then you become eligible to participate in the Calderon settlement. And we've had clients move to New England in order to get their deportation order opened so that they can get a green card. That's for spouses of U.S. citizens who have deportation orders. We have a limited time to use the Calderon settlement to get you a green card. If you're here watching our live, please put questions about U.S. immigration law that you have into the chat. Share with your friends the fact that we've got this live for about 15 more minutes. I'm here to answer your questions about your case, friends' cases, or just immigration law in general. We here at Cambridge Immigration Law love helping people with all types of U.S. immigration applications. We help people come to the United States who are outside the United States through embassy green cards. So maybe you're married to a citizen and your spouse lives in Italy. We can help your Italian spouse come to the United States. Maybe you're engaged to somebody who's in Ghana. You're a U.S. citizen. You're engaged to somebody who lives in Ghana or other part of Africa. We can help your partner come to the United States as a fiancé. Or if you go there and get married, you could get a spouse visa. People ask me a lot which is better, a fiancé visa or spouse visa. A lot of people go online and they look at the processing times for fiancé visas versus spouse visas, and they're convinced the fiancé visa is going to be faster for me. Possibly. Fiancé visas have one less step outside the United States, but they can slow down through requests for evidence or just general slowdowns. When the fiancé comes to the United States, though, they still have to continue their immigration application to get a green card. A spouse comes to the United States on an immigrant visa, and they're a green card holder the second they step into the United States. So if all things are equal, for me, getting a spouse-based green card from outside the United States is better than a fiancé visa, because when your fiancé or spouse comes to the United States, they're able to start living in the United States in terms of finding a job, accepting a job, leaving the United States if they want to. If someone comes as a fiancé, they have to apply for a green card once they get here, and they're going to be stuck in the United States until the government gives them permission to leave. They're also not going to be able to immediately accept work legally. They might do it illegally, which actually wouldn't affect their case, but it's not allowed. An employer would be way less likely to offer a job to somebody who doesn't have employment authorization. So if you're here on this live, please put questions into the chat so I can help you answer your questions about U.S. immigration law. If you have an application pending and you want to know something about what might be going on with it, or if you're about to submit something, I can give you some feedback to talk to your lawyer about so that you can have the best application possible. We always want to submit the strongest application for our clients so that we're essentially handing the approval to the officer, I say on a platter. They have nothing else that they need to do to approve it. We want to make it easy for USCIS to approve your case. We want to make it obvious to USCIS that your case should be approved. We want to make it clear to USCIS that you have an advocate behind you who's not going to back down if USCIS wants to try to push you off from approval. One technique that the Trump administration admitted to last time, and it's definitely using this time, is making bad decisions about cases so that people just stop asking for benefits. Um, People are less likely to continue with an application if they get a request for evidence, especially if you have an employer who is sponsoring your application. Once there's any road bumps in the process, an employer is likely to reassess the financial and logistical investment they're making for you as an employee. So the Trump administration knows that, and they are incorrectly issuing requests for evidence and certainly denials. If you have a good attorney on your side, you are signaling. Communicating to the government that we're not going to back down. You're not going to back down. You're eligible for what you're asking for, and you're going to see it through until you get the benefit that you're asking for. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'm always excited to hear what's going on with your immigration application and to help you figure out what you could apply for, what you might be eligible for. Um, all right, what else? Again, if you have a deportation order and you're married to a US citizen and you live in New England, you can get your deportation order reopened so that you are eligible to apply for a green card. This is a Calderon settlement for people who are married to US citizens, have a deportation order, and want to get that reopened so they can file for a green card. If you have any questions about that, please put your question in the chat. Maybe you're eligible for the Calderon benefits. In addition to getting your case reopened, you are protected from deportation until January if you're part of the Calderon settlement. So again, if you live in New England, you're married to a citizen, you have a deportation order, and then you file the first step of the application, the I-130, you're considered part of the Calderon protected group, and you should not be detained, and you should be able to get your deportation order reopened. It's a really important settlement for people. It's a huge obstacle. Having a removal order or a deportation order is a huge obstacle for people getting green cards if they're in the United States. So if you're in the United States with a deportation order, but you're married to a US citizen, you may not be able to get a green card. You need to rely on the court reopening your case, and the government sometimes agreeing to that. With the Calderon settlement, the government is ordered essentially to agree to reopening, and the courts are instructed to reopen cases. So this is a really big benefit for people who otherwise might be scared about taking the risk of telling the government they're here after a deportation order was issued against them, maybe last week or last decade. Like, people are here for many years sometimes after getting a deportation order. If you're here and you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat. Love to help you navigate the U.S. immigration system. It's complicated. It's not straightforward. You find directions on the USCIS website that you think are the right ones to follow. But if your case has a particular nuance and sometimes not even a very uncommon one, you might be following the wrong set of instructions. One thing that we see a lot is when people are eligible for a green card in the United States, we see people start that process on their own. They read the instructions and see, oh, I need to have an I-130 petition filed and approved first. I will file that, wait for the approval, and then I'll file for my green card. What those people don't know is that they can file the I-130 and the green card application, which is a 45, at the same time. That gives them more benefits while they're waiting. When you have a green card application pending, you can get travel permission to leave the United States. You can get a work permit. There's also been like a historical protection against deportation while you have it pending. An I-130 alone does not do that. Also, you're not waiting an extra year or more to get the I-130 approved before you're filing for 45. So that's an example of people doing, their due diligence and reading the instructions, thinking they're doing the right thing, but they don't have enough experience with the process to know that certain instructions about USCIS applications may not apply to them because of their particular situation. So if you have joined, you have a question about US immigration law, please put your question into the chat. If you have a pending application, please let me know what's going on with it. If you have any questions about it, want to know why it might be stalled, or maybe what you need to do to submit an application, please put your questions in the chat. We'd love to help you by answering some US immigration questions. If you have a lawyer, you should definitely run anything that we talk about by your lawyer. If you don't have a lawyer, you should get a lawyer. Nobody should be submitting an application to USCIS or going to immigration court by themselves. You need to have an attorney with you. The statistics show that having an attorney is the single most important factor in whether your application is going to be approved. This is true for marriage-based green cards. It's true for asylum applications, and it's true for you defending yourself in immigration court. So you don't have to work with Cambridge immigration law. I'd love you to, but you need to work with an attorney. You don't work with somebody who is not an attorney who says that they do immigration services. We see people here in Massachusetts that say they do like tax and immigration services. Do not work with those people for your immigration services. I don't know enough about taxes to know if you should work with them on taxes. You need to have an attorney representing you, presenting your case to application to the government, and also standing next to you when you go to any interview or hearing. So I'm happy to answer your questions, but like I said, you want to run anything that we discuss by your lawyer, and if you don't have a lawyer, you need to get one. If you're here, invite your friends to join us. Share this live with them. Tell them that I'm here to answer questions about their U.S. immigration application. I'd love to help you figure out if you're eligible to apply for a green card or a visa, and also if you have a application pending, if you have some questions about what might be going on. A lot of people will chat and say, the application's been pending for this long. What's going on? And a lot of times my answer is, I don't know. That's probably a normal processing time. Some applications, though, like they get to a point where they've been processing too long, and I'll tell people that they need to sue the government and file what's called a mandamus federal lawsuit. So a mandate to the government to work on your case. So applications take a really long time, but there does come a point where it's too long and the government needs to be forced to make a decision about your case. And in that case, we would file what's called a mandamus lawsuit. So if you have had your immigration petition pending for years, maybe sometimes even months, you may be eligible to force the government to make a decision by filing a federal lawsuit. That's called a mandamus lawsuit. And sometimes what we do is we don't even file the lawsuit. We just threaten the USCIS that we're going to file a lawsuit, and that causes them to just deal with your case. We do that a lot with citizenship, and it's a great way to get your case moving if it's been stuck. It stinks that we have to do it because if you're working with us, you have to pay us, and you shouldn't have to have an additional financial requirement to get your citizenship application approved. But many times we file these threats of a lawsuit, and it gets USCIS to schedule your interview or make a decision about your case when you've already been interviewed. So if your case has been pending for a really long time, you should contact your lawyer or us and figure out if filing a lawsuit against the government is the way to get your case approved. One thing to note, though, if you sue the government for a mandamus, you're not asking the government to approve your case. You're asking the government to make a decision about your case. So one thing, if we were to start working with you, that we'd want to look at really carefully is is your case approvable? If it's not a good case, we're probably going to, meaning if the green card application is not strong, we might not encourage you to file a mandamus, because asking the government for any decision is asking them for a denial if that's the appropriate decision. So a mandamus is a good tool to use when your case is strong and it's just obviously approvable. It's also a good case when you don't care, honestly, either way, if it's approved or denied, you just want a decision. Not many people are in that situation, but some people just say, I don't even care anymore. I just need some finality on this application. That's a situation where you might want to file a mandamus, even if I look at the case and say, I don't know if you're going to get approved for this. They say approval or denial, I just need something. The government should not be allowed to sit on applications. From a legal perspective, from a justice perspective, also just from a process perspective, they accepted your money. They should work on your case. Like, don't accept a case if you're not going to work on it. Now, the government can't do that because they have to have agencies to deal with immigration applications. But the government can't, like Trump is doing, pause applications, which must amount to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of applications. They can't just pause them based on what country you're from. So there are lawsuits right now being prepared. I know there's a lawsuit that you can join by next week if you want to. The American Immigration Impact Litigation Impact Association is accepting people to join their lawsuit relating to the pause on USCIS applications based on where people are from. If you want to join that, you can contact our firm. We'll tell you about it. Or you could look up the American Immigration Litigation Impact Association. I think that's what it's called. They do charge you about $2,500 to join their lawsuit. I suppose that's to cover, their costs and pay their staff to have good people that are doing the work on your behalf. So, thank you for joining our live today. I hope that we have another live soon and that we have some questions from you. Thanks so much. Contact Cambridge Immigration Law. Our phone number is 617-714-4375. We would start you with a consultation with one of our attorneys to figure out a strategy to help you achieve your life goals. And then if you do decide to work with us, you would work with your legal team. So contact us to set up a consultation, 617-714-4375. I see that one person joined right now as I'm leaving. If you have any question, please put it in chat and I'm happy to stay on to answer your question. You can also find us at www.cambridgeimmigrationlaw.com, and then on different social media, our handles some form of Cambridge Immigration Law. That's the name of our firm. So thanks for joining. And please come back to our YouTube lives in the future. We also do TikTok lives. So we're trying to get around to talk to people about their immigration applications, their immigration questions. And this is a really fun way to meet some people. So thanks so much. Bye-bye.